Hey y'all, I'm so excited today because we have yet another guest on the Mass Exodus podcast. Today I'm so excited because y'all know how much I love um, mental health, just speaking about mental health, speaking about um, okay, there we go. I just messed up a lot. Okay, so I just want to welcome our guest, Miss Renet'e. She gonna tell me how to say it. Washington. She is doctor, but I want her to talk to us about the different types of mental health professionals because she is a psychotherapist, right? And so I don't even know the difference, and I want to know some things. So I want to go ahead and bring her up. And we're having a storm here in Georgia, so I don't know if that's the reason why I'm having some issues, but I'm gonna bring her on. Yes, there she is. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This has been a long time coming, right?
I would say yes.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you on this podcast today. We've been waiting. We've been rescheduling, playing phone tag, and going back and forth. And I just want to welcome you to the Mass Exodus podcast. Could you please tell us the correct way to say your name and what is your designations? Because I saw a lot of letters on the flyer. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put the letters. I don't know what this means, but it's on here, and I need to.
Okay. Okay. So my name is Renet'e Washington. And then I heard you say that I'm Dr. Washington. I am not yet Dr. Washington, but it's in the making. So I'm claiming it. And I love when I hear it. It's the motivation to keep going. Trust me,
Okay, okay,
motivation. But I am a licensed professional counselor in the states of Georgia and Virginia. And
okay,
I'm a licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida. I'm also a certified professional clinical supervisor, which means that I am certified to manage the hours of other upcoming therapists to help them to reach licensure.
awesome.
Um, yep, master's level persons who've already graduated college and seeking their hours. I can supervise those persons. And then I'm also a certified anger management specialist as well.
Awesome. Okay, and you are located here in Georgia.
Yes, I am.
Yes, awesome. Okay, what city is that in?
I am in Kennesaw, Georgia.
Okay, awesome. Um, so the name of your practice is called Refined Beginnings.
Yes.
And can you tell us how you came up with that name? It's
I
always a
came
story behind the name.
Yeah, I came up with that name because when you go into business and then you are thinking about, what is your purpose?
Uh-huh.
Who are the people that you want to help? What do you want them to walk away from when they engage with you? And for a lot of people, I feel that they want to do better, they want to be better, they want to achieve more. It's just how, and sometimes it's just like the lack of education. So in trying to gain the knowledge and the education that you need to work on yourself, you kind of have to refine who you are. It's just like with diamonds, and I believe in a diamond in the rough. You know, everybody has to be refined at some point, which can help you to create a new beginning. And so that's how I kind of came up with refined beginnings.
Awesome. Okay, so we also talk okay, so we met on Clubhouse again. Let me tell y'all something about Clubhouse. Y'all better get on Clubhouse. But we met on Clubhouse, and do you remember our story of how we met?
Oh, when I got upset in the room, yeah, I got upset in the room, got a little hot. Um, because I'm going to advocate all day, and if people don't get that, and the way she tried
Yeah.
to shut it down, I was like, yeah, this is not for me.
Yeah, so we were in a room and we were discussing mental health, and I don't think there were any mental health professionals on the nowhere. It was just moderators. And I just appreciate you for stepping up and just speaking up as a mental health professional. A lot of times, especially on Clubhouse, people, they're somebody else because they can be. But she reached out to me, inboxed me on Instagram or DM me, and just reached out, and we kind of connected from there. And she gave me some information that I needed to help somebody, and I just really appreciate that. And I said, this is a person whose mission is real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not about just this is what I do professionally, but like it feels like ministry because it's like, let me make sure that this person gets what they need. And so I just really appreciated that about you and how you found me. You found me. Like, you
Yeah.
made it a point to seek me out. And so I wanted to ask you, so because when we discussed what it is that you wanted to talk about, you were saying mental health in the Black community. Why is that so important?
That's important to me because in our communities, a lot of us, we have coping skills built around struggle and survival. So a lot of things that we do is because we're just trying to survive. We're trying to make it to that next day, that next paycheck, make sure that next light bill gets paid. And so it's hard sometimes to relax in life and enjoy it and just be able to be free because we're in straight up survival mode. And so a lot of the times being in survival mode creates emotions and feelings that are not healthy and they're not beneficial to us. And they can also project onto the people that we are communicating with, or our family members, children, if we have children later on, and it's just like, how do we fix it? What can we do? And for myself, I didn't always realize that I had challenges and issues, if that makes sense. I felt like I was doing okay. Um, but then somebody outside of me was like, no, there's some things going on with you, because why are you reacting that way? Why do
Yeah,
you speak to people that way? Why are
yeah.
you so defensive when somebody says something that tries to correct you?
Mm-hmm.
And I had never really thought about it because
Oh.
that's just how I was in my survival.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, unfortunately or fortunately, we're tough, like taught that we have to be tough. Like we have to
So
be tough and strong, and you just move forward and you deal with it. And I'm like, why we don't ever get to relax and be upset and say, no, I do need help? Like, why we can't do that?
you know what? When you say we, who you talking about?
Black women,
Mm-hmm.
black
Mm-hmm.
people
Black people.
specifically.
So my phone's ringing, of course. So that brings me to my next point. The Superwoman. Let's talk about that. Please talk about that.
Oh yeah, the Superwoman gonna cause you, number one, to be unrealistic in your thought process, because Superwoman is just that fictional. You don't see women running around here in no little cat suit with 10-inch heels saving nothing. That, like, come on. You know what I mean? Like, that ain't even realistic. So if that's what you're trying to achieve, then you're not going to ever be able to obtain that. And so for me, the Superwoman complex just kind of symbolizes, like I said, women feeling that we have to be everything all the time. And it doesn't make sense because you can't make it in the world by yourself. You need some type of support, some type of assistance, some type of backup, some type of help. And it's okay to need that. That doesn't make you a weak person by any means. I think it makes you a smarter person if you have a team, especially a team that's functional and a team that's loyal and dedicated. You can achieve a lot more in a team system than you will just as an individual. And so that's what I speak about when I talk to people about the Superwoman complex. Like, literally, it's unrealistic. It is unhealthy for us, and it puts us in a place to be anxious and to be depressed when we can't achieve these things, or we can't do all these things, quote unquote, on our own. And then it makes us have negative self images about ourselves, and that is the worst thing that anybody can do. And so, I walk around with my T-shirt that says Superwoman, with a line through it, because no, I'm not. I don't want to be that.
Right.
When I felt like I had to be that, I was out here working all the time, not really sleeping well, not eating well, just going through day to day, trying to make it
Mm-hmm.
without even asking for help. So that just led to being like resentful and angry and depressed, sad, tired, disappointed. Oh, I should be able to do all these things. No, no, I shouldn't. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
just one person.
Right.
But we do that to ourselves because that's just kind of, I know where I'm from. That's what it is.
Yeah. I was thinking about like the myth of the married woman who has all the help. You know what I mean? It's kind of like um I know of a book there where it's discussing the single married black single married woman. And so it's kind of like
Oh yeah.
just because you have a husband, just because you have people around, if you have that superwoman complex, it's something that you have to get free from. It doesn't really matter who's around, but it's just more people to save, really, honestly, and come through for, right? Like, like a lot of times we look at other people with help that we don't have or a situation we don't have, and we feel like they have it better than us. But really it's just embracing the title of superwoman or strong woman. It's like, you know what, I'm weak then. You know what I mean? I saw a post where this lady, and I had to send it to you. I got to find it and send it to you. Where the lady was saying that she stopped saying that she was strong because basically some men took it as a challenge as, okay, well, let me see how strong you are. Let me see how much you can endure. Let me put you through some stuff to see if you're really strong. And she was like, no, I'm not strong. I'm not strong. I can break very easily. And if I break, something else gonna break. And so it's like I need you to know that I'm a human. I need you to know that I have
Mhm.
limitations. And a lot of times, we think about the effects of slavery and effects of how we were brought to this country. It's like, how does that translate into like the 2021 effect? Um, and we can get to trauma next because this basically speaking about the trauma, and we have embraced certain things. It's like, it's in the medical field, we don't feel pain and we don't do this and we don't, because we're so super, right? Like we're putting ourselves in this place where we are um superhuman. So it's like, well, why wouldn't you be able to endure more pain? It's like, yeah, we have um felt and held more pain. That don't mean that we've actually dealt with it or we deal with it better. Especially when we get labeled like angry black woman. It's like, okay, if that's a label that every time you see an angry, or it's the fact that we can have a label that goes with black women, right? Like angry black woman. That just speaks to the trauma. That speaks to the effect of the result of what we have dealt with as a people. And it's like, okay, if you have been tired, overworked for centuries, for generations, you might be a little bit upset. So
That's
yeah,
needed. And then my thing is, why can't we be angry?
I'm just
Everybody
saying.
else can be angry.
You might be. Let me just say this right quick, and I'm gonna let you talk, right? And I'm gonna ask you about trauma. Let me breathe. Okay, so I was in a meeting, and we had the shooting with the here in Georgia. We had the guy go down and shoot up the Asian women,
Yeah.
and I was in a meeting, and there was a guy, Asian guy, talking about, he went numb. He felt numbness, and he felt like he had to come outside of his body because he didn't want to feel the feelings. And it was very honest, and it was, it was his experience, right? And I'm like, okay. So my thing is, it's funny how when things happen to certain people, they have this experience, they have a human reaction, but it's labeled, it has no, and there was no backlash, there was no negative connotation of challenging why he was feeling these feelings. Everything was embrace it and get through it and all of this stuff, and we're here with you. But it just feels like, to know that, okay, yes, the people got shot. Yes, when these black people get shot by the police and these people get, like, it's that has nothing to do with us, right? Personally, but it's like, if it's not connected to us racially, then we don't have a response. But anyway, he was talking about how he held feelings in his body and he had to release them, and it was affecting his sleep and all that. And I'm like, imagine dealing with that for generations. Imagine having to parent and work, and nobody validate your feelings, nobody care or I mean, not even validate, just acknowledge that that's true. You know what I mean? Like the gaslighting is crazy. So the trauma that, people of color have endured is we have no choice really if we want to heal anything is to get mental health help. We have to get, like, that's why I wanted you on here, because you know a lot of times when we think about going to get help, we think about somebody who don't look like us to help us. And so I think it's important for people to know that there are people who look like you, who understand your trauma, who's going to validate and help you work through some things, and who is not going to minimalize or trivialize your feelings. And I wanted to let everybody see and know. And also I'm putting up your IG. Go follow mental health professionals so that you can get some clues and hints as to how you can get one of these people in your life. So the next thing I wanted you to talk about was, what is trauma and what is the effects that trauma have on relationships?
Oh, wow. Well, trauma, um, for most people, it's either experience, like a one-on-one personal experience, or it can be something that they've heard. It can be something that they see, and it affects your brain and your thought process. So when people are dealing with trauma, you got one or two things that are going to happen, and it's called fight or flight. Either you're going to run from it, or it's going to make you freeze, um, or it might make you fight back. It just depends on what that trauma is, the severity of it, and then how you're affected by it. And so there are several different things about trauma that I tell people. A lot of people experience trauma every day, but is that such a low frequency that you may not even realize that that's what's happening. A lot of people, when they think about trauma, they think about somebody who has witnessed like a murder, or who's been unfortunately sexually assaulted or abused, somebody who's been physically um, beat up by a spouse or a loved one or whomever. But you can experience trauma just walking through your neighborhood, depending on where you live. You can experience trauma because you were in a car wreck. You can experience trauma because somebody every day is verbally saying things to you um, that are not nice.
Mm-hmm.
So trauma comes in so many different forms, and I think that's what people need to understand as well about trauma. It comes in different forms, and it doesn't have to be a personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a kid in one bedroom listening to mom and dad fight in a different bedroom.
Mm.
And so now this kid suffers trauma, and when this kid sees other people arguing, they do become frightened,
Wow.
because when they hear that, what they think about is what happens at home.
Right. Right. So what effect does that have on relationships?
It can cause people to grow up honestly and not trust,
Mm-hmm.
because I can't trust you, because from what I saw with my trauma, I can't trust this adult who sexually abused me, or I can't trust you as a man because I saw a man beat up my mom, or I saw a woman beat up my dad. I can't trust you because I
Mm-hmm.
saw you out in my community doing things that I knew were not right. So the trust is a big part when you're dealing with trauma, and it'll show up in your relationship. Sometimes you can be in a relationship with somebody, and that person can be a nice person, an honorable, loyal person, but because of your experiences, you question everything that they do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because for you, that's abnormal. For some people, to have somebody who cares and who says, "Hey, how was your day today?" For some people, that's foreign, and it's like, "What do you want from me?" Okay,
Yeah.
you trying to be nice to me, you must want something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that'll show up in your relationship,
Yeah.
and
It's so
then
many
also the
ways.
way that trauma can show up in your relationship um, is that your attachment sometimes can be unnatural.
Okay.
Like, and I know I've heard this. I'm not sure if you have, but they'll say, "Oh yeah, well, some people don't think it's love unless they get hit because they grew up
Yep.
seeing that.
Yeah.
Some people don't think it's love unless it's this." And so your version of what love looks like and how you should receive that is warped. Like
Yeah.
literally is warped, and it sometimes causes people to put up a wall that's so thick, and they hide their feelings, they hide their emotions because they don't even know how to express those. And if you
Right.
get into a relationship with somebody, they're going to want you to show emotions. They're going to want you to converse. They're going to want to spend that time with you. And you're over here trying to figure out, like, oh my God, like, I don't know how to manage my emotions. I don't even know how to express my emotions. I don't know what I'm supposed to show or versus what I'm not supposed to show. Like, you are a mess, honestly, and you're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and then if it hasn't been safe for you to be in your feelings, like what is that called? People start to dissociate, right?
Oh, disassociate, yeah.
Yeah. So what is that like? So because I want people to learn these terms just so that they understand what they have going on, so that they know what to tell a mental health professional about what they're doing.
Yeah, and I see what I tell people when they come to see me. Honestly, I'm not looking for this. Is not see. This is another reason why it's sometimes good to go to somebody who looks like you. I'm not looking for what's the dictionary words. I'm not even looking for you to try to say something the correct way to me or for me. Just come in here and tell me what you got going on. You know what I mean? We can be proper if that's what works for you. We can just speak candidly if that's what works for you. And I don't front to anybody. I'm from the hood, so I can get it however you bring it, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that because I want to meet people where they are. I want people to be comfortable. I want them to know when they come in. Just tell me what you need to say, and I'll guide it. We'll get to where we need to end up at, and that person trying to tell me their issues and their challenges. I just try to tell people, if you can, use examples. When you go talk to people, get them examples, whether it be a television show that you use as an example or something from your real life that you can use as an example, whether it be lyrics from a song as an example. I think a lot of times what helps me work with people is that I give them those examples of things that they can use to try to tell me like what's happening and what's going on with them, because sometimes people, I feel, they don't want to share or come to us um, because they feel they don't know what to say.
I'm still here. I just wanted to be focused on you because I really want people to get the full effect of what you're saying, and I appreciate you being able to say, "Look, just come how you are, so we can figure it out together." But
Yeah.
sometimes when we're dealing with certain stuff, you just think it's normal. You think it's okay. You think that that's
Oh,
just how, I mean, that's how I do. I mean, I could just turn my feelings off. Okay, that's not something you should do. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Um, or
And then
or
that's not
even
even
if you know why,
facts.
huh?
I said, then that's not even facts because when, like you said, when the young man said that he was numb,
Yeah. Hmm.
but I promise you that thought or that emotion, that feeling is still in the back of your mind. It's still in your subconscious. It's almost like you'll be doing something and a thought will come and you'll be like, where did that come from? It's been in your mind the whole time.
Hmm.
It just decided now I'm going to present myself.
Hmm.
And that happens to a lot of people. And they'll say, oh, like you said, I've had people tell me, oh, I don't have feelings. I'm tough. I never express feelings. My family members don't express feelings. And then I'll say, okay, so then how do you know if somebody's truly happy with you or truly upset with you or truly frustrated or disappointed if you've never felt those things or you think that you haven't felt those things? Then how do you recognize those things in other people to
Right.
be able to relate to them or be empathic, with them as well? Because a lot of people don't learn empathy. Because, like I said, it's survival out in these streets. A lot of people don't learn empathy in their own homes
Mm.
because they're taught to survive. So I can't feel sorry for you because somebody punched you. I've been punched. I see other people getting punched. We okay?
Hmm.
So they don't learn empathy. And I end up teaching adults a lot of the times empathy. Most kids start learning empathy in kindergarten.
Hmm.
And in daycare, you when a teacher say, hey, well, you shouldn't hit somebody. If you hit them, it hurts. Some
Hmm.
people don't get that at home. Some people literally get knocked out.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so when somebody else comes and starts complaining, like, oh, such and such hit me or this happened, they're trying to figure out what you're complaining about.
Right.
So empathy is another thing that can happen um, in trauma and not understanding somebody else's trauma, especially if it's generational. If it's something that's generational, um, I hear that a lot. People tell somebody, well, I went through that. I survived. I'm okay. You'll be okay. So it's like, okay, I guess they are okay. And then they'll perceive that to be, like you said before, what's normal. But I always tell people certain coping skills we create are simply used to protect ourselves. But as you evolve, as you grow, Sometimes you're gonna outgrow those coping skills, and then you have to figure out, now what do I do? How do I replace them? How do I replace the unwanted behaviors with positive ones? And I think that's when a lot of people start to struggle, because they've outgrown the coping skills that they implemented just for that survival.
That's good. You know, a lot of times when we talk about, when you say outgrow, I'm thinking maybe that comes out once you get in a relationship, right? So
Oh
that
yeah.
moves me to the next question. Like, so what are the top things that when we talk to, when you're talking to people counseling couples,
Hmm.
what is the, I guess, top 3 to 5 issues that people have, and what can people do to solve their issues within their marriage or their relationship?
Communication, communication, and communication. And I say that because people are sometimes not able to have hard conversations and then still be loving at the same time. Sometimes in communication, people are kind of like tit for tat. Like, you said something to hurt me, so now I'm going to say something to hurt you. Sometimes in communication, we don't understand what the other person is saying. However, we don't go back and say, hey, well, this is what I heard you say. Is this what you're trying to say? We don't seek that clarification and the understanding. Sometimes people don't know how to communicate because they weren't taught those skills. Like, you have to listen in communication. Communication to me is like an action. I have to listen, I have to hear what you're saying, I have to make sure that what I understand is what you said, and then come up with a response, versus somebody talking to me, and while they're talking to me, I'm in my own head like, oh, I can't wait till they finish because I got to say A, B, C, and D. That means I haven't even heard what you said. And so now we're just talking at each other. We're not taking the time out to say, okay, like you said before, okay, well, I acknowledge that you said you feel this way or you had this thought. So let's talk about it. Let's get a resolve. Let's compromise. Because in communication, there's going to be compromise. There's going to be hopefully some resolutions that come about as well in communication. And then the understanding. You got to have understanding. So I think those things are major um, when you're in a relationship. And it's not always easy. It's not always easy for me because I was an independent person. So I made all my decisions. I did pretty much whatever I wanted to do because I didn't have to really communicate or compromise or figure out a solution. It was just me.
Right.
And so when you link up with somebody, now it's two people. So I can't just say, hey, what y'all doing this weekend? Oh, I'm gonna link up with y'all. Let's go. I can't just say, oh, you guys are going to Miami. Oh, I'm coming. I can't just go out there and buy a Range Rover. Like, we got to have some communication with me and my husband. The number one, make sure financially that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, is that something that we need? Because I have a car, so what do I need that?
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to do down the road that buying this car now that I don't need might affect?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people, I think male and female, I think we look at it as if we're losing power. Because I know that's how I felt. Like, wait a minute, well, I got to check with you about doing something. It's my money. Well, I got to ask you certain things. I'm an adult. I do what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt sometimes I was losing my independence. I was losing who I was because I was looking at it in a negative perception
Mm-hmm.
versus looking at it as what it is. And I had a helpmate. I had somebody who I can run these ideas by, make sure that they make sense so I make the best decision for
Mm-hmm.
everybody. So that's the piece to it. Now we got to make decisions that's good for everybody. There is no I in the relationship when you're trying to have a team, because a relationship is teamwork.
Right.
Now, is every day going to be the best day? No, I don't even have all the best days every day, but I show up though,
Mm-hmm.
and I put in the work, and I work on making the changes that I know are necessary. But you do that if you care about somebody,
Right.
you know? And I tell people that all the time. Yeah, I'm married. Yeah, I still make mistakes. Yeah, I still screw up. I'm not perfect. I don't pretend to be perfect. I'm still learning, like straight up, I'm still learning.
So we got some. So we're streaming right now on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. And I just wanted to put up my friend Gretchen. She sent some hearts. She's loving what you're saying. But I just wanted to say too, while you're talking, you're making me think about the effects of your trauma and your communication skills when it comes to actually raising kids. Like, so how does that affect that?
I know, like for myself, and then a lot of people who I work with, um, I was super vigilant um, in reference to trying to make sure that my kids were always safe. Um, I was a definite helicopter parent. Um, I didn't let them spend the night at people's homes. They could go play for a little while, and I'm like, hey, you got to come home. Um, I really try to just keep them at home. And I was like, oh, your
Yeah,
friends can come over here though, but no, you can't go over there.
right.
You know. And then unfortunately, some of the traits that I didn't like in some people, I assessed that I had some of those traits,
Mm,
and I was honestly exhibiting some of those traits in raising my kids for real,
mm-hmm.
literally. And it is unhealthy. Um, it can be toxic with your kids. We can honestly create, I think, issues for our children that didn't even exist, you know. Um,
Yeah,
I think I made my kids a little anxious for real.
yeah,
But then they started to get nervous when they would go around people because they're like, something might be wrong with this person.
yeah.
So it's like, mommy, can I just sit here with you? I don't want to. And I'm like, oh Lord, I have scared my kids from even trying to make friends or go
Mm-hmm,
places
mm-hmm,
because of my fears.
mm-hmm.
And I do think I transferred some of those fears um, onto my children.
How do you counter that? How do you be concerned but like not create anxiety in your kids? I need to know that for me. This is for me.
Yeah. So what I ended up having to start doing, honestly, was trusting myself
Mm-hmm.
and trusting myself to the in a point of trusting that like what I've taught them, the conversations that we've had, that they would be able to recognize honestly if there is something that could pose danger to them or put them in harm's way, and and having conversations with them as well, not to frighten them. So I'm not going to say, hey, well, did somebody say something to you, did somebody touch you? I didn't do that. I started saying, hey, did you have a good time? Do you want to set up another play date to be able to go back over there? Like, kind of what took place, and let them tell me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because then that for them helped them to build trust and be able to trust people. And I just taught them what was healthy versus unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of as they got older, let them make those decisions is
Right.
how I had to do it because I when I say my kids didn't spend the night anywhere for a long, 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 long time, I mean that. Should they probably have spent the night? I think a couple of places they could have gone and they would have been perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
Because I met the parents. The parents seemed to be okay, but it was just my fears.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you're speaking to me because I work with women in transition from sex work. Everybody keeps talking about how they was molested by a family friend, molested by a family member, and it's just like, okay, so note to self: children can't be away from me. Like that's basically what it tells you. It's like if you're learning from other people's mistakes, then you start to adjust and adapt your life to it. So I completely understand because I'm actually doing that, and I'm trying not to, like you said, I don't want to traumatize them and nothing even happen. But at the same
Exactly.
time, it's like, prevention is better than intervention. That's how I feel.
All day, all day. So I think that'd be a great place to start. Is just teaching them healthy versus unhealthy.
Hmm. But then at the same time, it's like, but if it's happening and they know the difference between healthy and unhealthy, and you put them in a situation or you allow them to go into a situation where something unhealthy is happening, then it's like it still happened. Like I just don't want it to happen. But um, like you said, just allowing them to express themselves and make those decisions for themselves, I think that's a good strategy just because we're teaching our kids to be people without us and
Yeah,
being
honestly.
responsible people.
Yeah, and I think having those conversations will make it easier for your kid to come to you
Mm-hmm.
because you're also building trust with them as well. You're
Mm-hmm.
also teaching them to problem solve and to use their critical thinking skills and discernment
Mm-hmm.
and discernment, you know. And so if you have that connection with your kids, they'll come and tell you if even if they feel that something may not be right. Um, you know, and I tell parents that when I used to do parenting coaching, when your kids come to you and tell you like, hey, I don't think I want to go over there, don't force them to go over there.
Right.
You know, like have a conversation with them, like, you know, like what do you do when you over there? How do you feel when you're around certain people? And they, I think they'll tell you. I think if you have that connection, they'll open up and they'll tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Like it like even with little kids, I do not like when somebody tells a little kid like, oh, such and such says, come, you know, come give them a hug. Why are you forcing kids to give hugs? If that kid says no, I don't want to hug them, then okay.
Mm-hmm. Have you heard of the concept of asking the babies to change them? Have you seen that?
Oh no.
Well, I mean, I get it, but I understand the premise. Is basically like when you get ready to change a baby, you ask permission. Can I change your diaper? Just so that they have control over their bodies, so that they're giving
Okay.
people access to their bodies. But so many people, they went all the way left with it. You know, I ain't gonna ask them about, but it's like that is a good, like when I start thinking about, because at first I'm like, that's dumb. But then because it's a baby, like it, I mean, if you need to be changed, I'm finna change because I'm not finna smell you. But it's like we just to give them a voice at an early age. It's a good strategy to let them know that hey, somebody should be asking you if they could touch your underwear.
Touch you.
Somebody should be asking you if they can take your underwear off. And if they, you know, and you have the right to say no. Now, if you say no, I'm gonna talk to you. Look, you stink. I'm gonna change you. I'm gonna watch you. You talk to them about what you're doing, but just giving them a voice in that situation. That's kind of like an example of like you said, like giving them the skills to talk and communicate. We was talking about communication. I thought that
Hmm.
was pretty cool. First I was like, what?
Yeah, and you know you gotta work with me because you know my youngest is 22, so it's been a minute.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. Wow. So how many kids do you have?
We are a blended family.
Okay.
My husband and I, so we have 6 kids. We have 3 girls and 3 boys. Um, very proud to say that they are grown and on their own.
All right.
Yeah, we're empty nesters. Woo-hoo. Um, we're empty nesters, but the youngest two, they're twins. They're in college, and then the other youngest boy, he's an installer. He's in South Carolina, and then the next oldest, she just graduated college about 2 years ago, so she is in her field and working. She works with persons who suffer from disability, so another advocate, you know.
Wow.
And yeah, and then the next to the oldest girl, she's an entrepreneur. My daughter, she probably was on Clubhouse with us. 100% self-employed, doing great. And then the very oldest girl is a sergeant in the army.
Oh wow. High five. You did it, girl. High.
So you know, I was a
Proud mama
single mom
moment.
for oh my gosh, 15 years. Yeah, my son was 15 when I met my husband.
Okay.
So I was a single mom for a long time. So when I tell you, I get that, oh, I'm Miss Independent. I've been doing this by myself for this long. Who are you to tell me I can do this? I got this. Oh, I was all of that. I was terrible. I was terrible. So then you got to thank God for somebody else who can have patience and grace,
Right.
you know,
Right.
while you
Right.
try to grow um, as a person. So I'm not ashamed to tell that to anybody, you know.
Absolutely. Let me go
I
ahead and
feel
second
that.
that and say the way I word that is that, you know, I look at my marriage as an actual assignment, you know, because I'm dealing with some stuff from him. He get on all my nerves, Lord. But I know I get on his nerves too, but we work with each other. Like, you know, he told me one day I was giving him all of the problems. I was just like, I'm not going to be easy today. I mean, because I'm not an easy person. You know what I'm saying? I'm not an easy person to deal with when I'm upset, especially when I'm keep repeating myself and saying the same thing. Like you shouldn't expect it to be like, oh, I'm just gonna keep saying it nice. It's gonna get worse. Okay. I'm gonna be mean. Okay, because I need for you to understand that I'm not nice. I'm not nice all the time and I don't want to be taken advantage of. I've been in a very controlling relationship. I've been in psychological, like where people are emotionally unavailable, where people just shut
Yeah.
me out, all that. So I'm very activated, trigger, whatever you want to say, when people don't listen or respond to me well. And I've already told you that. So don't do that. And so the fact that he told me, he's like, you know what, I'm built for this. I'm built to help you deal and grow. I'm built. And I was like, okay, all right, well, hopefully, and when he said he was built for that, that means, I'm like, well, that means that I must be built to help deal with you. So we're basically going to help each other through this, because you're going to learn how to listen and I'm going to learn how to have a little more patience. My God, my God.
Okay.
I'm trying.
And then I tell people the crazy. Now, this is the crazy part about this situation. My husband and I are from the same place. We're both from South Carolina,
Wow.
and he and my brother play football, track, basketball, all this stuff together. So I've known
Wow.
him for years. But somehow we both end up living in Jacksonville, Florida, and that's when we start communicating. And
Wow.
so, so sometimes, like I said, you have to look at God and say, okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
I wasn't who I needed to be back then
Mm-hmm.
for us to even have made it. We would have never made it if I was still who I was back then.
Listen,
So
listen. Thank God for growth, right?
I'm talking about growth. I'm talking about timing,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
All of
know,
that. Mm-hmm.
like you said, working on myself, um, being vulnerable enough to know that, yeah, you got some stuff with you. And if you want to be connected to somebody, you're going to have to work on yourself a little bit. You're going to have to make those changes and be dedicated to those changes, and not just so that you can be connected to somebody, but so that you can feel happy and comfortable with who you are, so that you can be proud of who you are, so that other people can see you and know when your presence is there, that hey, that's somebody who cares about themselves, that's somebody who loves themselves, that's somebody who wants to be better, who is doing better. Like, that's what it was about for me. I needed to walk in my truth and not be a hypocrite, coming out saying, oh, I'm a therapist, I'm here to help people, when I hadn't helped myself. So that's why you always see me preaching, love yourself first, put yourself first.
Oh, girl, that was a whole sermon right there.
I'm trying to tell you, I didn't pray for a man. So when they said, what's Sierra prayer? I don't know what she prayed, but I know what my prayer was. And my prayer was, God, make me somebody who can compromise. Make me somebody who, can give a little. Make me somebody who can be supportive of a husband. Make me somebody who can compromise, because I didn't know how to compromise. Make me somebody, who can be that backbone for a husband. Because
Mm,
a lot of people say, oh, I'm just going to pray because I want a man to be blah, blah, blah. But how you going to be? Who you
right,
going to be?
right. And it's funny that you said that, was because when I think about where I was at before me and my husband got together, it's like, I really was working on myself, me and my relationship with God, and just focusing on my mental health, focusing on what aggravates me, and just trying to just really for real give it to God. Like, that was my strategy. I did have a therapist at one point, but something happened. What happened with that? Oh yeah, the that my therapist moved away. And so I was kind of left on my own. And it was kind of like, but just still acknowledging what's going on, just the self-awareness piece. If you don't understand what's going on with you, and if you're not able to address it, or even be willing to address it, like, even if you don't know what it is that you need to address, just know that it's you, and that you need to do some work on you. That is going to probably open you up for somebody to help you work on you. And it's not that they're going to come in and solve it for you, but like, you'll be in a healthy place to be in a relationship to where you can receive information, receive correction, receive from something from somebody you trust, somebody who's obligated to you as your mate, to help you be better. And I think that it's interesting that you just said that you was talking about you. I call that praying against myself, because I was really all about just making sure I get what I want. But I got to the point where I'm like, what I want ain't good for me. I need to not get what I want. I need to be okay with not having what I want. I need to just make peace with being what God wants me to be, and just help my mind unwrap and unravel from all of the stuff that makes me dysfunctional, because I'm very dysfunctional. And just knowing that, you know what I mean? Like being honest. It's like
Yeah.
if you honest, can't nobody accuse you of being something you already know. Like, I'm telling you how dysfunctional I am. You can't tell me. I'm telling you. And I'm also getting help from over here. So I'm good. I'm not good yet. I'm working on being good.
Exactly.
And I think that that's the attitude. Once we have the attitude of I'm doing the work to get better. I know I'm not better. I'm trying to get better though. And I'm not going to sit up here and point the finger at you and make it seem like it's all you, when even if you dropped out of my life right now, somebody else show up, I'm still going to have this problem with whoever I'm with, because I haven't changed. And that's what therapy does, y'all. Therapy helps you figure out what it is that you need to do in order to get a different result out of your life. It's nobody else's job to make sure that you're okay and you feel okay. Like, if you tell somebody your issues, that doesn't mean that they're going to tiptoe around it, right? So it's kind of like when we start talking about, well, I told this man my problem, I have an abandonment issue, so why would he do this and that? Sometimes people use your issues against you. We got a lot of crazy people out here. So you telling people your issues, you should be probably just telling your therapist. Please
I,
get you one.
and I say that all the time. And it's not a knock, like you said, it's not a knock to, your friends or your mate or anything like that. But the truth is what it is. And I tell people a lot of the times, because they'll say, I keep dating the same people, the same issues arise. And then I tell them, like, literally, if you look at a Sprite, a Mellow Yellow, Sierra Mist, they're all the same color, just with different packaging. So it's not those things, it's the person themselves. So you become the common denominator. If you think that you're still dating the same exact people, or you continue to have the same exact issues, you are the common denominator. So either you continue to stay in that cycle, or you start figuring out, hey, what are the things that I need to work on? Where am I strong at? Where do I have some growth areas? And then start figuring out and prioritizing what course of action do I need to take first, and be realistic with it. For most people, change doesn't happen overnight. But for a lot of people, change happens when you don't have any choice. So I always say be proactive versus being reactive. So if I can self-assess myself and see where I need to make an improvement, then I'm going to start working towards that.
That's good. It is when you say you're going to start working toward, a lot of people put so much work and effort into trying to change other people. Um, how many times is it that people show up to your office and they just drag somebody else? They're like, fix them, and they point.
All the time. I have parents who do it. I have spouses who do it.
Mm,
And the thing to it is, if you change yourself and you work on yourself and you make the improvements that you need, and then you start treating yourself better, people notice that, and either they're going to get on board with it or they're going to fall off. And that's just the nature of how that works. So I always tell people, like, don't worry about what the next person is saying or doing. Like, just pretend you in the car driving. You're supposed to be looking straight ahead, focus on where you're going, not worrying about how the person beside you driving or what they're doing in their car, because that's how people cause wrecks. You got to just focus on yourself, do what's best, do what's right, put your best foot forward, and then start working on those changes. And people will recognize it because you're going to speak differently. You'll behave differently. You'll be able to manage your emotions better. Your thought processes won't be so distorted and negative. So they'll notice the changes. And even if they don't notice the changes, that's okay, because it's your journey. You're doing what's best for you so that you can be a better person. And that has to become what the goal is. How do I become better? What can I do? How do I help myself? And at the end of the day, that's really, to me, what matters most, because I'm a good person already. So by me being a good person, the people who engage with me and connect with me, they're going to either get on board with it or not.
right,
That's just how I feel every day.
right,
And I say that every day. I'm not linking up with anything that's weak. I'm very specific in who I link up with, who I collaborate with, who I allow in my inner circle. And if I'm the weak link in my own chain, then I'm going to fix that.
right, right. That's so good. Okay, so we met on Clubhouse. What is your Clubhouse name? Just if anybody wants to follow you on Clubhouse, I've been putting your IG up. It's Refined Beginnings LLC. if anybody wants to follow her on Instagram. But I want to be able to allow y'all to connect with her on Clubhouse, because when she's speaking in the room, y'all want to be up in there. So what is it?
Clubhouse is just my name, Renet'e Washington.
Okay.
And on Facebook is Refined Beginnings on Facebook as well.
Okay. Okay. So y'all heard what she said. I really hope that people are I mean, because especially after the 2020, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we need to get to a place where we are taking care of our minds, because a lot of
Yeah.
people found out that they don't deal with isolation well when they had the quarantine. Like they found out a lot about themselves last year,
So
and I just
people
wanted
broke
to
up.
make sure. Huh?
So many people broke up because they
Oh,
found out, like, I don't even know who this person is. I don't even like you for real. We don't have any distractions. I'm here all day with you. Oh, I don't even like you for real.
that happened immediately. You remember when it was like the quarantine? They was like, "You gonna have to be in the quarantine." They was like, "Okay, I'm not gonna be able to do it." Like they didn't even give it a chance to actually happen. They were just like, "I'm not gonna be able to." That was like
Like,
the
for
first
real.
thing that was reported when we started saying, "Okay, the world is shut down." They were like, "Divorcing you." I hate you.
Yeah. I mean, and it's sad, but true.
Yeah,
I know for a fact from stats that more people were victimized, like
yeah,
in their own homes,
yeah.
during the quarantine. Like, once the world, quote unquote, started to reopen, um, I went back into my private practice. I went, of course, immediately online, virtual. I had no choice. Um, but I still kept my office, and that's through the grace of God, okay? And
Mm,
I'm not knocking anybody, but I didn't have to take out a loan, grants, nothing,
wow, that is God.
literally. And that's
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 God.
the grace of God, because I had
Mm,
colleagues who shut their business down. They didn't
mm,
even go virtual because people stopped showing up, but my people kept showing up, and
mm.
I was like, well, thank you, God.
Wow.
And I went physically back into my office, I think in August, August or either September of last year. Still was full. Um, got to a point now where I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, I got a wait list, so I had to reach out and say, hey, anybody want to come work for me? I'll teach you how to start your own practice in the process. Um, and I've been really, like, literally full in my private practice, because so many people, like you said, figured out, like, being home and being isolated wasn't working for them. A lot of people were having marital issues. I had a lot of parents who were struggling because now you are spending all your time with your kid, and you're seeing that you didn't possibly put in the work that you needed to, because now you and your kid can't even get along. It's been a lot um, that's been happening due to COVID. And so I'm just blessed for real to even still be able to say, hey, I'm working. You know what I mean? Like they always be saying, like on social media, I'm booked and busy, baby. And I got to thank God for that. And I'm about to train my husband, because he's about to start tag teaming with me doing these couples counseling sessions for real. Like, let's go. Let's jump in here. Let's get this done. And it's been working, because I do trainings. I'm back doing trainings. I'm back doing seminars. We have an event coming up this Thursday in Atlanta. It's an all-day event.
Hmm.
I'm going to be talking about personal development, talking about like when you start your business, emotional intelligence, why that's important, and just why it's important to get yourself together first before you step out in this world. Saying you're trying to help other people, you got to help yourself first, and then what does that look like? What's your
Hmm.
purpose? Why are you doing it? Because for me, in my field, people, and because you're in the field, people, oh, why are you in that field? Y'all don't make a lot of money. I didn't start what I do to make a lot of money. I just started it because I wanted to help people. I wanted to help women. I wanted to help people who were experiencing some of the same things that I experienced. I had my first kid, I was 18. I graduated a month later from high school. So I was a statistic. I mean, I was a teenage mom, but at least, I had my diploma. I did spend some years being on Section 8. I got food stamps before, as well. And So I've been that route. I've done that. I worked 2 jobs just to maintain and make sure that I could take care of my family. So I've had some hardships. I've had some disappointments. I've had moments of depression. I had moments of anger. I probably experienced every emotion probably that exists out in these streets. Um, but I guess it was all a part of my journey. And so I want people to know that no matter where you started from, you can be whoever God said you're going to be. Like, that's just point blank, period. But you got to put the work in. You got to
Right.
make the necessary changes. You got to be committed. You got to be consistent. You got to be loyal. You got to be dedicated to yourself,
Mm.
like just straight up to yourself.
Hmm.
And then you go and then you do what you're called to do. Like, I didn't force this. Like, literally, it came to me. Literally, it came to me. And I'm like, no, because I always said I was going to be a lawyer because I love to argue all the time. So I'm going to be a lawyer because I argue and I win these arguments. Like, I go hard.
Hmm. Hmm.
But that wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. And I know that's not what I'm supposed to be doing because my clients refer me clients. Like, you see, I don't advertise a lot. I don't do a lot. Like I should do on social media, but because of who I am and what I do, my clients send me clients.
Hmm.
And so I know it's a purpose for what I do. I'm proud of what I do. I don't have any shame telling people that hey, yeah, I was a teenage mom. Yeah, I was on Section 8. Yeah, I got food stamps. I did all that. Stepping stones. But I'm also Professor Renet'e Washington too, though.
Mm.
Successful business owner for 8 years. I'm in 3 states,
Wow.
you know. So I just had to take a detour. Had to take a little detour,
Hmm.
but that's okay though. You know what I mean? I tell people that look at Taraji P. Henson. She didn't make it major until she was in her 40s. You know
Wow.
what I'm saying? We still have time. Every day that God wakes us up, we still have time.
Right.
What you gonna do with it though? That's my thing. What you gonna do with it?
Mm.
So every day I get up with bricks on my shoulder and I'm coming out. Hey, who can I help today? How can I help today?
Hmm.
And it doesn't always have to be money. It doesn't have to be me being in therapist mode per se. It's just me as a person, just genuine,
Hmm.
wanting to be better and wanting to see other people be better as well. So that's like that's my whole everything that I do. So I'm excited and I can't wait to Thursday for this event. Um, because it's myself, it's my daughter, it's another colleague that I linked up with from Atlanta, and she's major, huge in Atlanta, and the reach is so good when you're doing like you said before, when you're walking in your purpose, people know that they see that, you know. So the young lady who owns, she's the owner of Bohold,
Mm.
like she's even gonna be there Thursday, and like she's a
Okay, so tell
millionaire.
everybody what the event is, and I got your website like going across the bottom. Can they get the information from your website?
No, they will have to get it from Instagram. It's on my Instagram and my link tree. But the
Okay.
name of the conference is called Evolution of Her.
Okay. Evolution of her.
It's
Evolution
Evolution
of
of
her.
Her.
Okay.
And it's all about helping people to evolve, helping people to be comfortable in the fact that you may not be where you want to be, but that doesn't mean you can't get there because greater is coming. It's coming. Now, if you
Mm-hmm.
want your piece of that, you have to put some work in because faith without work is dead.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to
Mm-hmm.
put some work in. And if there are things that you don't know, then say you don't know it. Because that's what we'll do. We'll teach it to you. Like
Mm-hmm.
hands on, face to face. And that's what it's about. I don't want to tell them too much what I'm going to speak about, but I'm gonna just send you the link because I want you to tune in. But I'm going to pretty much peel back all the layers of an onion
Okay.
to get to that core, and then I'm gonna build it back up.
Awesome.
So sometimes you
So
have to do
so
that.
so I'll put her Instagram up here so that you can see see where her Instagram is. Go on her page, see what this event is, and go to it. And wear
Yeah,
your mask.
we only have tickets for
All that.
virtual left. The in person sold out. Like we sold out 2 weeks ago for the
Wow.
in person because like we're going to teach people, hey, you can make $1,000 a day, but you got to put work in. You got to make sure your system's in place. You got to make sure your mental is in place. You got to make sure that you don't forget why are you doing what you're doing? Why did you start doing what you're doing? Some
Mm-hmm.
people forget that, and then that's why they lose the vision, because they
Right.
forget what it was. And now you just simply chasing money. No, it got to be something more
That'll
than
never
that.
last. Never.
No, no. My favorite quote is a Bob Marley quote. Money is numbers. And if you're always chasing money, you're never going to get happiness.
Yeah.
I'd rather
Cause
have
it.
the happiness.
Yeah.
That's why I do pro bono therapy. I give out free sessions. I do free seminars because I can make money,
And you also
but
have
I'd
a
rather
book,
make a
right? Don't you have
difference.
a book?
I have it's a ebook,
Okay.
and it just talks about business. It's called Dare to Dream, the heart of the business.
Okay.
And I believe in that thoroughly. What is the heart of your business?
Hmm.
Because I know for me, people, they know that I care about them. They know that I'm not just here trying to make money. They know that I genuinely want them to be better than they were when they first came to me. And that's
Hmm.
just honest. And if I'm not the right therapist for somebody, I'll tell them that. I will tell them that. And I'm going to help them find that person.
Awesome. That's good. A lot of times we don't. If we can't do it, we just sometimes people just do the job anyway until that person figure out that this is not my right therapist. But then also that might turn them off from actually going to therapy anyway. Like period. So I'm glad that you do that.
Oh, yeah, I'm very honest about my expertise. I am not going to work with somebody who I know I can't help. I'm not going to do that to anybody. I wouldn't want anybody to do that to me.
Right, right. Because it takes so much for people to reach out for help. You want to keep them on that momentum of okay, you reached out to me. Let me make sure you get what you're out here looking for. I don't want to kill your
Yeah,
momentum of trying to seek it and find it.
that's
But
true.
yeah, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that we finally got this podcast episode on because there's so many people who are struggling mentally and they don't even know where to start. And
Yeah,
so I just wanted to make sure that I highlight somebody who can help them, that they can reach out to, that they can connect with. They're in Georgia. Both of us are in Georgia.
yeah,
But through the web, they can reach out to you on Instagram, they can reach out to you on your website and
yeah,
on Clubhouse. And
yeah.
so and we're a little bit over an hour, but I just appreciate your time. I appreciate you so much, and I just wish you all the best with your event on Thursday. Please give me the information so that I can promote it, make sure that everybody know about it. So on my page, because I promote whatever on my page if it's some good stuff, um and if it's helpful and beneficial to people. But I just want to thank you for speaking with me today, and I just want to know if there's anything else you wanted to say before we close out.
I just want to say, like you said, just start. You know, find somebody, have the conversation, and do what you know feels right. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I've tried all of these things, nothing is working. Now, what do I do?
Mm,
Therapy for me and for a lot of my colleagues is not just about diagnosing people, because everybody does not have a diagnosis. Some people are
mm,
just stressed because they can't even make the basic living qualities of life, and that's food, water, and shelter and love. Some people are stressed because they are helping everybody else and then forget about themselves. Some people are stressed because they do have trauma that they haven't dealt with, or they are having issues in their relationship. Those things are not diagnoses. Those are just life issues. And that's okay. Sometimes we need just a person who has, for the lack of a better word, has no cards in the game. You know what I mean? I tell people all the time, you can talk to somebody like me, because I'm not going to be at your family functions. I'm not going to be at your church on Sunday. I'm not going to be at your Christmas party. So you can feel safe coming and talking to a therapist, because we're held by law to be confidential. We can't share your information. So seek us out. We are out here. There are a lot of professional Black people who can help you. And we're out here and we're willing to help. And before we end, I wanted to go back to the very beginning of what you said. A psychiatrist is a medical doctor. So your psychiatrist can write medications. Most
Okay.
psychiatrists, that's all they do. They don't do the hourly therapy that I do, right? A psychologist um, is a PhD person as well, but the psychologists mostly do testing. So they do like IQ testing. They'll test for personality traits. They'll test to see if this person is possibly a parent who may endanger a child, things of that nature. So they do a lot of the testing. But your psychotherapist, your clinical social worker, your licensed mental health counselor, we are the people who sit down and we get you to problem solve. We get you to critical think. We get you to reframe your thought process so that you can make better decisions and live a healthier, positive life. So we'll do those 1 hour sessions with our clients just to help them to navigate and work through. So we're trained conductors, and I tell people that. I'm not an expert on your life because it's not my life. So you have to check into it. You have to do the work along with me to get to where you want to be and what your end results are. So those are the differences. And then sometimes you have peer specialists as well. And a peer specialist is a person who has experienced exactly what that person has experienced, and then they're there to help that person. So those are the different ones that are, I would say, for the lack of a better word, the most popular
Mm-hmm.
um, in our realm. And so I tell people to kind of think of it about, if you think about it in a traditional medical reference, you have your doctor, then you have the nurses, then you have your LPNs, then you have your CNAs. Just look at us the same way. You have your psychiatrist, you have your psychologist, you have your therapist, and then you have the other factors as well. The doctor is not going to sit in there and do all the stuff that the nurse does, right?
Right.
Neither is the psychiatrist. But I tell people to look at me. I'm the nurse of the team.
Okay.
I'm putting in the work. And your
Right.
psychiatrist will tell you that, hey, I'm going to give you medication, but you still need to go to therapy with your therapist.
Right.
So
Right.
that's the layout.
That's good. I needed to hear that because a lot of people who are on medicine, they feel some kind of way when their psychiatrist is not spending lots of time with them. And I'm like, if they just did a write a prescription, then and you don't even want to know how much they're charging you per hour. They've decided they do to let you talk to them for an hour. You don't
Yeah.
you don't want to do that.
And the psychiatrist, for the most part, they spend maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's good to know that that's normal. That's good to know.
Hmm.
So yeah. Well, again, I want to thank you for coming on today. And we will be connecting. This is not just like a one-time thing. I'm not like that. I really appreciate you so much. And I want everybody to look, Clubhouse, Renet'e Washington. Instagram, I've been doing this all throughout the whole thing, just making sure that it's up here, but just making sure that y'all connect with the doctor. She will be Dr.
Soon to
Washington,
be.
soon to be Dr. Washington.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you so much.
Thank
And
you.
I just
Thank you for having me, honestly.
no problem. And thank you everybody for tuning in. And you have been watching the Mass Exodus podcast. And until next time, bye.
Bye. Thank you.